take. I wanted to take. That's how it goes. Good. That's the look I want. And that's the look I get. Because I went after it while he was consciously saying, fuck you, to a direction that a human, which should be like God to them, because you do everything for them. They don't have to do anything. You don't have to hunt, they don't, nothing. He decided to not listen. This is gonna make me so goddamn relevant that in a week from now, I'll say jump, he'll say how high, right? That kind of stuff. And then I can show him what a good boy he is, and we have a good dynamic, and we can live a good life. Until you're like that, we do stuff like this. We do stuff like this until the dog doesn't allow me to do stuff like this because it listens. He chose how long, how high it had to get. He chose his consequence. And now this is his first day, right? This is his first hour. When he realizes that it's his choice, it's his behavior. Through going through this, within a day or two, we're gonna have squeaky clean behavior. With pockets of fights on things that he's like, okay, but I don't want to do that, like walking on a leash. He's not going to want to walk on a leash. He'll throw a fit for that. But we get through these fits. It's what we're paid to do. All this fucking shit that keeps him from being a domesticated companion that can actually go somewhere without causing a scene. These situations where he's asked to go into the kennel and he says, I don't want to. Perfect for training. I don't care about the rep. I don't care about how many we get in. I care about that. I've set the whole thing up so that you said, I don't want to. And now you're waiting to see what I do. And you say, is that it? No, I'm just going to hang here then. I'm going to test the boundary, and I'm aware of the boundary, and I know how to turn it off at any time. Now he's starting to get understanding. Now he's starting to become humble. Because yes, it can go higher. I'm just being fair. The longer you stay out here saying, fuck you, with your little protest sign, the hotter it's going to get. But by the way, this is how you turn it off. You just do what I said. That's going to set our dynamic right. By the end product is, I say something, somebody asks the dog to do something. If he doesn't do it, you give him a little correction, he does it, and then you're good. That's the end product. That's not how it starts, though. This is how it starts. The dog tests every boundary. You know, some dogs try to bite you. You know, some dogs try to strike at you because they don't want you to tell them to do. You know, they're not, as a lot of old school trainers would say, like broken. Like you got to break the dog. It's not domesticated. It doesn't respect you. It's not a follower, is what we say, which is a dog who's made the decision that they're going to live your life, not their life. They're going to follow you through life, not you follow them. Okay? And then when a dog is there, all their behavioral choices are different. And that's when we say, that's a good dog. Because that's where it lives now. In the hierarchy, it's okay with being the follower in this relationship, which therefore, it's not barking anymore, it's not pulling anymore, it's not doing any of this bullshit. Good. It's a predator, it's a dog, it's a canine. Right? He's not whatever his name is, Reich, right? I'm not thinking about that right now. That's not him. Because that name is whatever personality and whatever memories you have tied to it, that's what you see him as. I see him as a dog, and then I see him as a Malinois. And I see his temperament, I see his genetical makeup, and I see his disposition towards humans. I see him for what he is, with no name, nothing, just the animal. That's what we need you to be able to do. And that is the hardest part. That is the hardest part for an owner, is to be able to see that animal for the animal that it is. Not for the name, not for the personality that we put behind it, not for all the humanization that we do, not for the void that it fills in our life. We see him for what he is and for how he behaves. And when you see that, you realize it's not a very compatible companion. But you see the potential. There's potential in it. But not without him getting to a few aversive moments by testing boundaries. He's going to. You say don't do this, he goes and does that. That's in the character of a guy like this. So he breaks as many boundaries as he sees fit, and then we'll have a good dog within a couple weeks. Good boy. I like this. That's the face. That's the face I need, the face of respect.
Yes, sir. No, sir.
Because then I can teach you everything you need to know, and you can go about your life, and I can go about mine. But until you do that, well, guess what? Well, now it's just going to be a shit show. I don't care what you know. I don't care if you know how to cartwheel or whatever fancy, obedience you know. It's all shit if you got an attitude, and you don't know how to follow a human and take them seriously. Good news is he's still young. He's a year and a half. It's a little older than what we'd want, you know, obviously, he would have came in earlier and all, I'm not saying anything with the owner's fault or anything, but in an ideal world, we'd get him younger than a year and a half, you know? But it's better than 3 years, it's better than 4 years, it's better than 5 years, it's better than 10 years. We've had a 10-year-old dog. Do we have an 11-year-old dog too? I mean, it gets crazy. Okay? Get it done young. Actually, I think getting it done, you know, around that year age, when you get an adult training, you can do whatever you want before that age, I suppose. No one's going to stop you. But they need an adult training, which means there's aversives for bad behavior. That's the real world, baby. That's not, you can't shelter them forever. You got to let them know there's physical consequences for fucking up. Let's put that one on a t-shirt. And that matures them. It matures them to the degree where they don't feel so annoyingly like, you know, an adult puppy. It's different when it's a lab, it's like that's kind of what that's supposed to be, you know? But when it comes to the working dogs, if you don't adjust them properly and they don't mature, they're going to be a disaster. Like you can get away with it with Bailey, right? She's a puppy forever. I wouldn't recommend it with these breeds, you know, or with pitties, or any serious breed, or with Rottweilers, or anything like that, Dobermans. You got to mature them, and they got to have somebody who has them under their thumb, to the nth degree if needed, right? Okay, bud, you doing good? We'll pick up on this later. He wants to be out of the kennel, you know, so. Boy, he's in this zone right now, but whatever I teach him is going to stick. And it's a window that you know it gets created for us because the dogs, the way we work and the way the dogs come in, we get this opening of the mind where they're open to taking new information about the environment in order to survive better. And so it sticks real quick. So if we teach the recall, it's like there it is. You know, you teach stuff in that state, heel and all that stuff, then you get it. But the cool thing is the dog learns to go into that state with association to us talking to it and the stim, because that's what we expect out of it. We expect this when we say your name, to listen. Good boy. I'm just going to see what this is. So that's an association. That's not him being an asshole. Let's be clear. Okay? This dog's not being an asshole.
It's like
it
a
can
cannon.
feel that way.
It's like a cannon.
But what he says is this means go. Like this means go. So his body just does it. There's no stop from thought to action. It's just as I'm thinking it, it's happening. That'll change. He'll learn to think before he does, before he behaves, which is something that all children, you know, learn. You know, I remember my dad saying that to me growing up, that I need to think before I act. That was like one of the main things he said. Kind of this guy too. He's kind of just like, you know, this means one, right? I'd rather him be okay with putting it on though, than him be nervous of it, because he is a nervous guy. He could have easily just been nervous of this, but he sees it as a leash, like we're going for a walk. I like that. So I'm just going to tone it down a little bit. I'm like, you know. The reason I bring that up is I feel like a lot of people would have affected that really hard, you know. But for him, he's nervy right now. I need to make sure when he's getting corrected, what I go after, and that it's clear, because he doesn't understand anything. He doesn't understand collar, doesn't understand like hand gestures really. I mean, even if he does, I don't think he can snap into training mode without a specific situation. Like sometimes dogs need treats or a ball or something where they know they're kind of going to be asked by their owner. And so because we're training our dogs rather than actually just like living with them and developing them, you know, we're thinking that as training, so the dog's kind of think of it that way too. And he's not clicking into that mode. I guarantee you, if I went and grabbed like something that he wanted, though, he'll click in that mode, and he'll go, "Vroom, I'm ready to like whatever you say, sit, right?" Good. It looks good on camera when you see dogs popping around like that and they're doing backflips with food and shit, but it's not practical to live with a pack of dogs. You don't need any of that to live with them. You need a recall, you need to stay. It's really the essentials. And then the rest is relationship, teaching them how to behave in certain situations and how to take direction from you under pressure and all that stuff. More important. Okay, so now we got Bailey's collar on him, which is just a single unit, so he's ready to relax. You know, you see, he can make that mistake. I'm not repeating the word stay to him, reminding him. I want him to understand that when I say it once, it means it until I say otherwise, until I release you. So if he makes the mistake by stepping out because he misunderstands me taking his collar off as he's free, then he's just going to get a correction, and that's the only way to teach him, right? The pressure's been on this whole time. He's more used to it. Right there, he knows what I'm saying. Did you see that? He said that I want to, right? Place. Now I'm using my words. That's some corrections there. I'm just trying to find a number. Okay. So we're having a back and forth meeting. He's like, so let me explain something real quick. He comes here, he sees me point to the thing, he stops. I say place. He completely turns into the opposite direction, which is him saying, this is what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about going in that direction. I'm reading all this. You know, I'm not talking to him like a human, like, oh, come on, get in there. I'm going back and forth. So he turns like this, boom, pressure's on. He turns back around, pressure's off. Place. He turns, pressure's on. But I don't care. Really. Actually, it's not as bad as I thought. And then I dial up, and he says, oh, okay. And he gets in. So what we're seeing is a dog, it's the attitude. That's why he's here. It's not about, again, I'm repeating myself, but it's not about the place or anything. It's about him being asked to do something and him deciding, making an actual conscious choice to not listen. I think that's why he's here. Because imagine this. Imagine he knew nothing. He knew no commands at all. But he listened. He knew when you said no, you didn't like it. And he knew that when you said good, you did like it. And he listened, but he knew nothing. When he was in the car today going at us, if he listened, you could go, no, and he would stop. And he didn't need a single command. He needed the relationship of when I say no, if you continue, this is what happens. Fill in the blank. What happens? You tell me. I don't know what happens when you say no. I know what happens when I say no. Right? Good. That's why I'm not going to say no to a dog unless I know I'm in a position where I can do something about it. You know? Because I don't want to water down my authority. And you know, the more you talk and the less you do, they quickly decide, okay, it's just. Alright, they're very physical animals. Good boy. That's another good boy. Oh, yes, that's my God. So the cool part is, why me and him are cool, is like, he sees that as just a thing that happens. He doesn't see me as doing it. You know what I mean? Like, because it's the e-collar and it's held pressure and all this, and it's this teaching process, he's like, okay, so this is just how this works. It's different if I'm over there giving him a pop on a leash or bonking him or something, which are, you know, there's a place for that stuff too. He just understands this is just the mechanics of it, and he just keeps testing it. Again, this is his first time doing this. A couple of days from now, this is over. He waits, we say break, he goes to the door, he says all. But this is just perfect to teach him the rules of all this stuff, the mechanics of what it looks like when I send you back, when I disagree, what does my body look like, what does this feel like, all that good stuff. He's learning the foundation through going in and out of the kennel, going to potty and coming back in. I mean, it doesn't take much. We can use recall, stay in place. The only other thing we need to work on is heel, you know? Good. Good boy. Boy. That's a good boy. God, he's handsome when he looks at you with eyes that are home. When he's not in La La Land, when he's home like that, I think the closest you can get that is if you had something you wanted, like a food. I don't have any of that, and this is going to be our relationship. That level of like just looking into your soul. Good boy, because that gets rewarded every time. Boom, I'm reprogramming the way his mind reacts to the world, right? When he does that look that I don't see, he's starting to head into that other look where he's starting to think about his options now. But that one right there, when he was really in on me, I would have capitalized on that, you know, if I wasn't educating you by possibly going and giving some more affection and stuff like that. It's just so he understands that's what I like. That 100%, I'm the only thing you're thinking about right now. Good. And I don't need that all the time from a dog. I only need that when I'm talking to them. So if I say his name, because I'm about to give him direction, I need that. I need that level of, yes, sir. Because that's the trade. That's why he gets the food and the bed and living with humans rather than a doghouse. That's what you get if you listen. So that's the trade. Like, you listen to when we say yeah, when we say to do something, you do it. When we say to stop, you stop. That's it. If you can do that, you can have this life with us. So I think it's a very fair trade. The dog doesn't give a shit though. They don't care. Even if they knew that, they're still going to do whatever they want. So we can't just have that conversation with them and say, you know, be good, please, because I pay the bills and all that. They don't care. So we we actually just give them a system that we're under, which is almost like law. Here's some rules. Here's what happens when you break them. And wouldn't you know, it cleans up their act. Wouldn't you know? But it's harder. It's easier said than done though, because it's actually very hard to teach the boundaries clearly. When you're using punishment, you have to be even a better trainer. Your timing has to be even better than when you're not using punishment, because it's a powerful tool, right? And we want to deliver everything clearly, very clearly and very concise. And then next thing you know, the dogs are, you know, they turn out very, very sharp, but also have a good head on their shoulders. They're not nervy, they're calm. They understand, and that comes from them understanding why, how everything's working, okay? Like if the pressure turns on, the dog understands it's because he left the kennel. He also understands in that moment how to turn it off, to go back to what he was doing. Same thing if in a down later on in life, or later on in the training. If he's in a down, and he was told to be in a down, if he pops up, the pressure's going to turn on. He's going to understand it's because he got out of his down prematurely, and he's going to go back to his down in order to turn the pressure off. Things like this. Same with the place bed, same with all this stuff, same with the heel, same with the recall. So he'll understand the why it happened and what to do to escape the punishment. And that gives them a deep understanding of what's expected. And then the dog's not thinking like that all the time, but they are thinking like that kind of the first few sessions, you know, the first couple of weeks of learning this stuff. The last week, it's like, I get it all. Now we just use it, and nobody's thinking about anything, because I don't need to think about the commands, because I do them all the time. He doesn't either. Now we're just zipping our way through the world and having a good time. But this is where it starts. So I would end it if he'd let me. This is just kind of my own way of working with dogs, but we end when the dog's done, you know? That's why I can't have a time frame on my back too much, because I just go until the dog's done. And sometimes it's done in 30 minutes, sometimes it's going to be an hour and a half. Understand? Good. Good. Now, this is why I really want you to turn on the camera. To show you, I'm purposely startling a dog who startles easy. And that's something you probably aren't going to see anybody do who doesn't train or try to change behavior. I'm actually going to get rid of that jerkiness. I need it to go down. It's too much. So the only way I can do it is to cause it, and then for him to realize there was no reason to do it. Over and over and over again. And also realize that I'm right here, and anytime you hear something you spook and then you kind of look at me to see what to do about it, I'm going to tell you good. Because in the future that's going to be you spooking, you looking at me, and then me telling you either a command to do or reassuring you. Instead of just going, and just panicking like he does and just take off, right? Good. You see that look right there? That. If you're getting that and you're not using food, you're doing something right. Good. Good. Also, I do the thumbs up. He's a really good example of a dog of why I do the thumbs up. So I don't get bit a lot of times. It's a marker. So I use this, and the dog knows they did the right thing. And when my hand comes in after that thumb, it's because I'm going to pet him. Because a dog like this, like nervy, he'd just like, see, I don't know, just a little nip, you know what I mean? So that thumbs up is like, good job of coming in for a pet. It's something the dogs seem to respond to, so. This is going good, and it looks like he's learning a heck of a lot right now. He's learning a lot. Our relationship is becoming very strong, very bonded. Good boy. Having more luck at him to make a mistake while Alright, so that's a 30. Just to give you an idea of how much he's starting to understand the collar now. We're in the same session. This is how many videos you break it up. Julie breaks the videos up, but this is still day one, first 45 minutes. I don't know how long we're in now. Hour. He just got 30 for running out, okay? And just kind of took it and then thought like, okay, how do I turn this off in my back? All knowledge. Earlier in the session, a 4. And then you get people like, oh my God, he's in pain. No, he's not. He doesn't understand. He knows there's like something tingling right here. It's so softly, but it doesn't matter because I'm already in this space where even if somebody were to just like kind of poke me, I would go, ugh, I'd blow off all my fur because I'm in such a crazy space, insecure space, right? Now he just got a 30, which is like how much more than a 4? A lot. And he's walk back in because he understands. Okay, just same session. I just work through it. I just keep working and try to be clear so the dog gets an understanding. Yes. Do they have sloppy, reactions at first? Yeah. And then it goes away like this. We continue to work through it. I'm not going to put them away with that belief, you know? Good. You see, because this one got him to come out last time, so I redid it, and then he caught himself. So here's an example of association. So that sound is a sound of a kennel opening. It just means in his mind, because he's been learning in a way where he's not present. So he relies on like things like that, like sounds. That's why we're very silent when we work with them at the beginning. I use my hands a lot. Just means forward. It just means forward moving. It just means go. Same with the call. It just means go. It just means go, go, go. So he hears this over here. It has nothing to do with him, but the sound is triggering his body to have a response because that's how dogs work. More so working lines. Working lines are even more so like that. This is how a working line works. Tell me what to do once, and then I'm just going to do it all the time and react because I don't have time to think. I'm a working dog. Show me how to respond in this situation, and now I will just trigger and respond like that forever without thinking because I'm a working dog. So his association is this sound, bolt forward. Now that's what I do. Unless somebody comes in and starts saying there's a consequence for doing that. Now the dog hesitates, which causes thought, creates thought, and I get to create a new standard. I actually don't want you to do anything when you hear that sound. Just stay right there and stay calm. Good boy. Okay. So that's how associations work. If you say this is a level of energy I need you to have while we go to the car, and I want you to feel playful. I want you to feel excited. I want your energy to be high. We're gonna go to the McDonald's drive-thru, whatever. We're gonna have a good time because whatever, it's just fun. I did that twice, and then I don't put you in the car for like 6 months, but then I bring you in, put you in a car. You're gonna revert back to your association of when you were in that car. Same energy level. This is the energy level I need during this situation. This is the behavioral choices I need to choose because this is what I did and it worked last time. You let that continue and the dog becomes patterned where they're not thinking anymore and they're just reacting. And now it's just like a dog can get these associations throughout its whole day where it's not even making a conscious thought throughout its whole day. It's just actually just triggering to sounds and sights and things and behaviors that are tied to that. That's why if you watch a dog whisperer, Belgian Malinois, he's all about associations. You take the leash out and the dog goes like this, he's like, you've been doing it wrong. Because the leash should be, what's his words? I think he says the leash should be surrendered. Like where the dog allows you to tell it where to go. Rather than like, amusement park, woo! And then you're wondering why it's barking. Well, if you're putting a dog on a leash and it's going, right? What do you think is going to happen when you step out the door? You can't be surprised. By saying we don't put this on until you're calm, this isn't what I do, by the way. These are just examples. I mean, I do some of this, but then you can change the association, right? So you can see a dog, you show them this. They might be excited because they know it's a walk, but they also know what they have to do to make it, to go to the next stage, which is calm down. So you might see just a little tail sweep, and they put it on, and then we go for a little walk. Rather than the crazy shit that we see, just dogs going completely nuts. And obviously dogs like Malinois have more of a tendency to be able to be high drive. So it's just a movement of the door. Good boy. Very nice. I know it doesn't look like much, but it's actually a really big mess. Imagine living like this, where it's like, I don't intend for you to go out, but you go out. And I don't intend for you to be crazy, but you're crazy. In all sorts of situations. It actually makes everything, you know, stressful. Good. That's the proper one. The looking up at me and waiting to see what to do. That's the good boy. That's the good boy. Break. Good boy. Wow. Good job. That was a long one. Nice work, bud. Who did a good job? Yes, you did a baby boy. Who did a baby boy? Yes, you did a. I'm inviting it now, so it's fine. But I'm inviting it again later on. In a few minutes, I'm gonna ask everybody to calm down and to go back in this kennel. See, so he can start to learn when I want it to turn off and what it looks like. What do I look like? What do I sound like when I want you to completely just relax? That's a good boy. Nice job. You need to go potty? Come on. A lot of potential. A lot of things to go through with him. But we got to really work hard to get those basics really solid, because if they're wonky, he'll feel wonky even if he's doing commands. We don't want wonky, right, bud? Right, place. Beautiful. Beautiful. Good boy. Good boy. I mean, come on, get good, guys. You're doing good. Good job. Good job. He wanted to test that boundary as many times as he wanted to, and as firm as he wanted to and needed to, in order for his particular character to say, okay, I'm not messing with that boundary. You know, every dog's different. You know, one correction, and some dogs are like, okay. Some dogs are like, oh, is that all you got? And they go on and try it a few times. Again, he can do it as many times as he needs to. That's why I like this program. It's because I can just walk away and he can just make a mistake as many times as his brain needs. As long as I'm doing it right, making sure the consequences are firmer when they need to be, then we get a dog who the belief system is this, so therefore they don't fuck with it. He won't be peeking that head out anymore in a couple days either. He'll just be doing what Tucker's doing. Don't you think Tucker wants to be out hiking? Of course he does. Or this dog would rather be out hiking. They all got their heads down. They'd all be out rather doing something, but they all just know that if they wait till their turn, it's the easiest way. See the illusion we're setting up with all the dogs walking by just now with me? It looks like we're going somewhere. This is all intentional. Nobody told him he could get out, but it looks like he could get like oh, are we leaving? Maybe we are leaving. Bye. Great, and that's why there's no long line or anything, so he can feel free to run. You know, everything's fenced in. He got corrected, went in. This is what I found was interesting, which means the pressure turned off, and then he was like, I'm gonna run out, and just like kind of try to like run past the threshold, like maybe it was only with the threshold, because fair enough for him, you know, you gotta try everything. He tried, like, what if I just keep running? And my timing is like, as soon as he's like, I'm gonna keep running, I tagged up higher. You probably heard a little yelp. He went over here, and then he got another tag for being far away. His mind did something though. He said, I'm coming back to you. Like, I'm done, I'm coming back. As soon as he did that, I dropped my numbers down to hardly anything. It's like a 6 when I'm in there, just to keep it going. I turned it off as I sent him away to the place. As soon as it turned off, he stopped. This is typical, like, pushy stuff. Turns back on, I turn it back on at the 6, and he completes and goes in and relaxes. Here's the thing. Did you hear that little chirp that he made? It was a chirp. He went, woo-hoo. That was an 80. He literally lost his mind on a 4. Not like, he actually didn't make any noise, but his expression was like, wow, which you can barely feel. I didn't know a number because I go off from his response. When he made a committed effort to say, I'm going to run through this, he was willing in his head, I believe, to take a correction. So he knew one was coming. He's aware of why it's happening again, because I've been teaching him, and he knows how to turn it off, right? Although he got in over his head where he was high, and he's like, I don't know all the steps to get back to the place, but from here, he looked at me and I helped him. This is all good, but it just shows you that he was like, okay, when I know it's coming, when I understand why it's coming, and I know how to avoid it, now I'm not seeing this big fuss of like a dog going crazy, unless the dog is purposely trying to fight the system, just to see if they can fight through it and see if that it'll stop. And that's what we see. And that goes in different ways. Some dogs will literally like try to fight you. They'll like try to come at you. Most dogs like him, if you're in danger of any striking, it's just because they're kind of just like, you know, frustrated. But most of the time, they don't try to come at me. They just try to test the boundary. Just try to like, okay, there was a rule set. Let me just see if it's going to happen with you out of the room. Let me see if it's going to happen with you over here or when they're not going. Very good. We get to see a lot of, narrate a lot of common mistakes here. I think he's got a lot of puppy in him still, so that's good. We're going to be able to keep a lot of that. See, but I don't want him hardened to the point where he's like a badass motherfucker and like, you know, he's going to, I don't think that's what they're looking for. I want some of that tenderness and that soft puppy stuff still there, but I want him to mature around the world. I want him to be more confident about the world, but not in our relationship. I don't want him to mature to the point where he tries to like, you know, think he can take me on or something. I want to keep him looking at me where when I look at him, I still see a puppy in his eyes to a degree, and I can still get that with Ricky too. He's very mature towards other dog. He's very tough, you know. If I give him a certain tone, I look at him over something he's not supposed to be doing, I'll still see that look of like he's just a little puppy. And that's what fathers see in their kids, I imagine too. It's like that's the level of respect, that twinkle in their eye of like they see you as the end all be all. I think you need that with your dog. I think everybody needs that with their dogs in order to have control when you need it. Good.